You guys, that totally just happened. I just finished watching the Nintendo Direct, and then the immediate presentation thing that they did as soon as it was over for about 5 or 10 minutes. And now I'm having to record this discussion about what we just saw and what just happened in that Nintendo Direct, and my mind is blown. And it's great, and I just feel like I can barely even think straight. Where do I even begin? It's like, I mean, we all know about what we just saw and what happened in that Direct. I mean, if I just okay, I don't want to bury the lead. Here's the thing. Was it a good Direct? Yes, it was a very good Direct. Was it a good E3 Direct? Yes, it was a very good E3 Direct. I mean, obviously, I'm really only laser focused on two things. Everything else was a blur in that Direct, but I kind of saw the trailers for other things happening in between my freaking out over certain things, and I was like, yeah, sure, these are all fine games. I have no problems with these games. These exist. That's great. But for me, obviously, oh my god, I mean, Metroid, they did it. They freaking did it, dude. They did it to the degree that I'm running out of words and adjectives, and I need to really just calm down because I'm so excited about what happened. Woosaw, right? You just woosaw. Okay, so Metroid 5, it's real. It's called Metroid Dread. Someone you guys watch on YouTube for a couple of years has already been talking about these things happening. Now it's a real thing. Also, they did give us a Breath of the Wild 2 update. And I know that I'm already seeing some mixed opinions on that stuff. Personally, I am floored with both of these things. This is a great E3 Direct. It's an A+ to me. I don't care what anyone else says. It was amazing. So really all I want to do in this video is really just focus on the Metroid stuff and the Zelda stuff. It's the most interesting to me. It's the biggest headline grabbing stuff. It has the biggest impact to everything that Nintendo is doing right now. They are doing the Treehouse for Metroid Dread right now, and I'm not watching it because I'm limited in time to make this video, and I don't know how much gameplay I even need to see because the game comes out this year, holy crap, and I have to also get going, and so I'm not yet watching that, but I did watch the Sakamoto kind of presentation where he talked about the history and the development and all that stuff, which I'll get into. Obviously, I'm going to try to make this a fairly quick video. I'm going to give deeper thoughts on this stuff later in the week, but as you guys know, I actually have a few hours to record and upload this, and then I have to go get an operation done to kind of fix my recently broken shoulder. So I don't have unlimited time to do this stuff today. So let's jump into it, man. Metroid Dread, Metroid 5. It's Metroid 5, you guys. So the leaks were out there. It was talking about there's a 2D Metroid game coming. They were talking about Mercury Steam doing it. And I believed that the 2D Metroid game was being made. Now, all I can say comfortably and safely is that I heard about a 2D Metroid game in 2019. Like, I don't know, a year and a half. I guess it would be probably about 2 years ago now because it's already freaking June of this year. I can't believe that. And it was probably mid-ish, late-ish 2019. And, you know, I talked about, like, how could 2D Metroid work? Is it going to come back? Would Nintendo abandon it, or would they bring it back? All these different things. And, I mean, then the leaks happened earlier in the year, and it's like, well, kind of adds up to what I was thinking they were going to do. I kind of feel like a 2D Metroid is absolutely on Nintendo's docket, and we learned today that it is. When that gameplay popped on screen, you guys, it was like magic. It is so beautiful. She's wearing a different suit. They've introduced a new enemy called Emmy, E-M-M-I, Emmy, which apparently goes back to the roots of the ideas that they had for Metroid Dread way back when those rumors were going around. Sakamoto, in that presentation after this game, basically confirmed stuff that we were reading about, like, on early IGN boards and Wikipedia, like, freaking 20 years ago or whenever that was. I guess it would be about 15 years ago. He even said that at one point they had a second opportunity to make the game, but both times the vision, the hardware and technology they were working at, the big scope of the ideas, just could never really come together in a way that they thought would justify the idea or the franchise, which to me just makes me very happy to hear that they're taking that kind of care with it. But then with the advent of the Switch and then Mercury Steam's amazing job with Samus Returns, they were like, now's the time to make Dread, put it on the Nintendo Switch, Bob's your uncle, here's your new Metroid game. And I will admit that one of the things that did surprise me was not the game itself, because I did, again, hear a long time ago that probably a 2D Metroid game is being made, but it's the fact that, yes, Mercury Steam is the team making this game. When the leaks came out earlier this year and they talked about it being Mercury Steam, I didn't really believe that because it didn't jive with some of the stuff I had thought and heard in the past. Even though I was clearly open to it being a possibility, I didn't know the real details. But I was like, I just didn't really think it was going to be Mercury Steam. And it is. And I'm so happy about it because I think Samus Returns was amazing for what it is. I still think they should do an HD port of that game to the Switch. And you can see the touch that they've put into Metroid Dread, okay? And I have to wonder, with the Emmy robots, there's a robot for each of the different sectors, I think he said. There's like 5-6 sections or something to the game. And in each one, I think there's one Emmy robot that is hunting Samus. And so they're bringing in this kind of what they did with Metroid Fusion, where there's a something hunting you kind of vibe. And you have to hide from it. And they even added that a little bit to the end of Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance. And I think it's a really interesting concept. Clearly, when they thought about the idea of Dread, quote-unquote, back, you know, in the Game Boy Advance days, they were obviously thinking about this. So when Sakamoto talked about, we had a concept that was really hard to develop at the time based on the hardware and stuff, it must have been this. They must have always had this vision of these kind of robots that are, like, indestructible, hunting Samus and having to hide from them. And new gameplay mechanics, the spider crawl thing, I don't remember the names, forgive me, this is all so fresh. The wall crawl, spider crawl thing, the slide being added, I think is very cool. Bringing back new forms of the melee counter that they introduced in Samus Returns, and of course the free aim, which we all expected anyway. And it's just, what's up with that new suit, man? Like, is that some sort of... I wonder how much time has taken place since Metroid Fusion. Anyway, I'm clearly jumping all over the place, and I'm just... like, I'm overflowing with ideas. I need to watch more of the trailer. I need to watch it again several times. I want to kind of revisit even the Sakamoto presentation thing where he talked about it. I love that he gave us some insight into everything, and I'm going to make a much more thorough and in-depth video. I'll probably do a breakdown of the trailer, which I've never really done before, but I'm going to try that, see how that goes. I think it'd be fun. I think you guys would like it. I'm going to get my reaction posted to it because, boy, I watched it after the fact, and I was like, wow, I really was excited, man. I am just over the moon, you guys. And again, I am one of, if not the only person you know on YouTube who's been saying for a while that the Dread concept is not dead. I first mentioned it as a possibility for Metroid Prime 4 to become Dread, but I've always said I think the Dread idea is not dead. I have mentioned it could be on a 2D game instead, or Metroid 5 could become Dread. And it's like, I'm like cosmically in tune with the Metroid franchise and with Samus, you guys, because in several different roundabout ways, I was right. And I'm so thankful that I heard about this years ago and that it turned out to be real. Like, I didn't know if I could believe it, but I was leaning towards believing it. And like, the Mad Lads did it, man. Metroid 5, Metroid Dread coming out October this year. It comes out this year, you guys. They did this perfectly. I am so amped. And now, clearly, we also have to talk about the amazing choice to end with a new Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. This is also huge news. I was completely fine with this being the last thing of the presentation. I don't know how anyone could have a problem with this. A couple of notable things happened here, though. Obviously, the trailer finally showed some gameplay and some context, and that was all just mind-blowingly amazing. But two main things happened. One, I guess a couple main things happened. One, they did not give us a title, so it's still Breath of the Wild 2 for who knows how long. Two, I was wrong in 2021. I will admit it. They said 2022 is the current release year. So I really wanted to believe it was going to happen this year, and clearly I was wrong. That game does have a lot of time still to go, and that's okay. A good game takes time to develop, and if it takes another year or two, it is what it is. But he also said we are targeting a 2022 release, which means there's still so much to go that it could very likely slip to 23. In fact, I would almost say we can put money on it now, which feels so silly for me as somebody who was saying I thought the game would come out this year to now think it's actually 2023. But based on what he said, I mean, it's probably going to happen. Now, if we talk about the trailer itself, that's where things get really exciting because they showed a new version of Link with longer hair and different clothes and a very dark Hyrule and floating islands, and they even showed Link falling from the sky very much like Skyward Sword. This was so cool to see. And I have to say, I mentioned this on my stream reaction as well. I was on a podcast with Andres Restart on his channel many, many months ago. And we had this section kind of near the end. I don't remember if this was before or after Skyward Sword was announced. I think it was before. This might have even been in 2020. I don't remember when this was. But I was on that podcast with him, and we started going off on this tangent about Breath of the Wild 2. And him and I discussed the exact same thing that is happening in Breath of the Wild 2. In fact, it's almost scary how close we were to it when we talked about... Because we remember, in the end of the first trailer, Hyrule Castle's like lifting out of the ground, and it's like, what's going on there? And then we started going off on this idea of different sections of Hyrule being broken and brought up in floating islands in the sky, kind of like Avatar the movie and stuff like that. And what if you could, from the ground to the sky, like, fly up and do, go from Hyrule Field and then suddenly fly up and go land on an island and do stuff there, and then fly through the sky and then land on Hyrule below and do that whole thing, like a total modern day reinvention of the Skyward Sword concept. Now that technology allows them to kind of do that a little bit better. And like, I can't believe it. That's exactly what this game seems to be. I am speechless at that. One of the most notable things I remember as far as gameplay in the trailer was this weird mechanic where Link, like, and I'd have to see it again, so forgive me, I'm doing this based off of memory. But it's like, he did something where he shot up vertically and, like, hit, like, the ceiling of, like, a cliff or something, like rocks. And then the camera went above the rocks where he was, and he, like, morphed or traveled through the rock almost like in a puddle or something and appeared up top. And was like, now I'm here and I'm fighting and doing whatever. And it reminded me of like a different but similar thing to Link Between Worlds, where he could turn into like a flat painting and move around the world. It's like, well, Breath of the Wild 2 offer an ability where you can travel through walls and stones and ceilings and stuff like that, like solid material. I thought that was really cool, and I want to know more about how you use that and why Link can do it. It's not so much the how or the what it is, it's also the why. It might just be something simple like an item or a piece of clothing, and maybe it's not a big deal, but it might also have really heavy story implications. And that's the thing that makes me really curious about what they're doing with that. I thought that was very, very cool. He showed another thing where he like stopped time in like a wide space. It wasn't like the locking feature in Breath of the Wild where you can like freeze one item in place. It almost seemed like he froze an entire area by throwing something or doing something, and it turned black and white. And it just looked incredible, and that opening shot of him falling from the sky was gorgeous. And then the final shot of this like this Hyrule Castle like kind of like come out of the ground but like still like resting on like a rocky thing, and the sunset in the background, just gorgeous, just amazing. Just the game that I just want to play. I'm so excited at Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, they talked about other Zelda stuff, and they showed a Game & Watch thing, so clearly this is them acknowledging and celebrating the 35th anniversary without calling it that. Maybe that's what's happening, too, with Metroid by even announcing a Metroid game, but I don't know. I mean, you know what? Yeah, 2022 or 23, okay, that sucks. I thought we'd play Zelda this year, but that's okay. We still got Skyward Sword coming. I love that game. Haters are going to hate. And this game is going to take time. Like, think of how long it took them to make the first Breath of the Wild, and how did that turn out? One of the best games ever created, like top 5 all-time video game. Let them do the same with this. Same with Metroid Prime 4, which I didn't even mention, by the way. They did acknowledge Metroid Prime 4. They said, hey, we're working very hard on Metroid Prime 4. It's a game we're making. It's going to be great. In the meantime, I'm going to blow your balls off with Metroid 5 Dread. Here you go, suckers. Anyway, this was a lot. I feel like I'm a lot right now. I know I'm very, like, animated, but I'm just really happy, you guys. I'm just a happy, satisfied Nintendo fan. I mean, this is E3. I don't want to get into a whole conversation about E3 as a whole, but this was obviously the best presentation. Nintendo brought their A game. And yeah, they showed Advance Wars, they showed WarioWare, they showed Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, they showed Shin Megami Tensei 5. What else? There was a new Mario Party game. I mean, yeah, they had a lot of games. It was great. It was good. But also Metroid Dread, Breath of the Wild 2. Man, what a day. This is just what I needed you guys going into a freaking surgery. Can you believe this is what I have to go do now? Okay, I'm going to edit this super fast. Very basic editing. I'm just going to throw the trailers and some loops and stuff and call this good for now. But later in this week, especially when I'm healed and maybe not, drugged up on painkillers and all that, I'm going to do some other stuff, man. I'm going to post my reaction. I want to make a deep dive into the Metroid trailer, talk about that like freaking crazy. I hope you guys are ready for a Metroid onslaught because I got things to say. Yeah, and maybe I do a podcast with some folks. Again, if my shoulder and my pain level and my brain level allows for me to do it coming off of an operation. So this is a wrap. What a day. This is a win for us all. What a day. Thank you, Nintendo, for the Metroid and Zelda goodness. I'm feeling great about it. Woo! Okay, that's it. This video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.